Hello. Mhm. Hang on before you disappear, Rex.
Hello.
Good morning, Curt.
How are you?
I'm very well, thanks.
Good, good.
How are you this morning or this evening?
I'm doing well. It's a beautiful day here, so no complaints. No
That's
complaints.
great.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good.
Was it a good day yesterday?
Very busy, very busy. We're finding that it's not as busy as it was last year because we had about 1,000 people through last year, but that was almost unbearable because, you know, you could barely move.
Right.
So yesterday we had about 400 people through yesterday, and we'll probably have about maybe 300 through today. You know, Sundays being quieter usually.
Right.
A lot of the people who came yesterday will also come today.
Right.
So, but we had a great time with the children, and we put
Good.
children's events on up at the library because we're underneath the library in this convention centre, and we had family history fun time upstairs where we had stories being read to the kids, and then we had a pirate doing balloon magic. Then we had one of my colleagues on the ukulele singing songs that our parents and grandparents used to sing.
Excellent.
And then today they've got stories that we used to listen to when we were children on the radio on a Sunday morning.
Right.
Most parents in New Zealand would give their children a radio on a on Saturday night and tell them that they were allowed to listen to the stories on the radio. And when the stories finished, they were allowed to get up then. So that meant that parents got to sleep in. But lovely stories like Molly Whoppie and Flick the Fire Engine, and probably stories you've not heard of, but you know, they were very popular here.
Sure, absolutely.
And they're all on vinyl. So they've got the old vinyl record player out, which the kids won't have seen before as well. So and
what a great idea.
Yeah. And they had quiz sheets for the older kids. So each exhibitor had gave a question to us, and we made up quiz sheets. So that means that the kids are coming down and having a look at the exhibit, you know, exhibitors' tables and mix and mingling with them there.
Yeah.
So it's good. Worked out really well.
That's very creative. That is a neat idea. That's very creative.
Yeah. So lots of fun.
Yeah.
And one of the guy who was a pirate doing balloon magic, he's another colleague who works out west of the city. You know, he really, he's actually Irish, and so he's got an Irish accent as well. So, and they got asked if they did that every weekend, so they might have another job.
Exactly.
Yeah, so lots of fun. So how was your evening, morning, day, wherever we are in your day?
It was good. Got a lot done today. It's still Saturday here, so did some gardening this morning, have some wonderful tomatoes and peppers coming on. Did some email. I always have mountains of email this afternoon, so
yeah.
Work always nags around in the back of my mind. So
oh yeah. It's absolutely fatal that you can check your emails when you're not at work.
I know.
I'm terrible at doing that. My boss tells me off if I answer when it's my day off. So can't help it though.
Right. It's an occupational hazard.
It is. We're starting to fill up now. Do you want me to turn you around so you can see the people arriving?
Yeah, I haven't seen the room, so yeah.
Yes, you're in a different room today. Have to be careful of the cables.
Ah, okay. Hello. Gotta love the colorful chairs.
Yes, great. Yeah, so they're just starting to arrive and fill up. Everybody's a bit slower in the mornings, on Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah. You got to love those bright, colorful chairs.
Yeah. Make sure they don't get stolen.
Well, it matches the coloring on the outside of the building, doesn't it?
Yes, it does actually. Yeah. Yeah. Very bright.
Yeah.
Oh dear. So we're going to be learning all about WorldCat today.
Yes, we are.
Yes, I use WorldCat quite a lot to for my purchasing, for buying for my collection. I see what's out there and might need to add. Look at gaps in the collection from different countries. Yeah. We didn't have a very big North American collection when I started 10 years ago, but I've been expanding it because I've got Canadian roots, Newfoundland to be exact.
Okay.
So yeah, here we go. More people filing in.
Good deal.
Well, at least you know. Sorry?
Didn't have many questions yesterday, so maybe there'll be more questions today. It's still your advice that I leave maybe 5 to 10 minutes at the end for questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, good idea too, in case there are any. Because we need the 5 or 10 minute changeover, because the next speaker, which is you, is on at 10 o'clock our time.
Right.
So passenger and immigration is a very popular subject down here in New Zealand. Everybody wants to know how their ancestors arrived and where they came and whatnot. And we don't have very good documentation for passenger lists here in comparison to other countries.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're probably familiar that Canada doesn't have very good documentation as far as lists go.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, unfortunately, my ancestors went to Newfoundland. Probably, I would say, probably the early 1700s. I've got back to 1780 in Newfoundland, but I suspect they've been around for a bit longer than that. I'm not too sure whether they originally came from Ireland or from Cornwall. There's varying theories on that one.
Right.
Yeah. But oh gosh, it's all coming up. Yeah. Sometimes my best advice is you need to try and find when they arrived in Australia, because quite often they came via Australia and hopped on a smaller boat to come from Australia to New Zealand quite often. Yeah.
Well, and that's a very sound strategy. A lot of Germans came to America through Liverpool, and people forget to look in Liverpool.
Absolutely, and a lot of Europeans, wherever they were, went via Hamburg.
Right.
You know, there's great passenger lists for coming out of Hamburg.
Right.
So going to Australia. Yeah. So sometimes you can only find them leaving the country, not coming in.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And people get so disappointed when they don't find the list.
I know. I always try and find them something else though.
Right.
Yeah. A school record or something like that they're not expecting, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that they don't go away completely shattered.
Right.
What time have we got? We're just coming up to 9 o'clock now. Got another minute. So that looks like a typical librarian's office to me.
It is. I call it my own personal archaeological dig. I have different things on different strata.
Yes.
If and when I decide I need to retire, I'll need to really plan in advance, at least 18 months, because that will take me, how long it'll take me to clean up my office. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. They refurbished our library recently, so we had to declutter, and I was forced to get rid of a lot of stuff I didn't really want to give away.
right.
So my office is now relatively tidy, but I notice it's starting to build up again.
Yeah.
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 As it does.
We were tidy in 2007, and this
Yeah.
is what 13 years does.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we can start now. I think it's just gone 9 o'clock our time here. So I'll just say I better get my microphone up. I keep forgetting they can't hear me. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Auckland Family History Expo, Day 2. We've got a lovely lineup of speakers again, as you know. I just want to say thank you to our sponsors. So Ancestry are our platinum sponsors this year. So special thank you to Ancestry. I also want to thank our other sponsors, the Family Tree Maker, the MyHeritage, Family Search, the New Zealand Society of Genealogists, the Alexander Turnbull Library, National Library of New Zealand, the Genealogical Computing Group, who are Auckland Libraries partners in the Expo, Auckland Council Libraries, of course, and the Puki Papa Local Board from Auckland Council. So big thanks to all our sponsors. Don't forget that we're selling raffle tickets. You can buy 3 tickets for $5, and there's lots of lovely prizes from DNA kits to subscriptions for our favourite websites, through to magazine subscriptions and all sorts. So please see the information desk if you would like to buy a raffle ticket or 2. And also Kathy's going around in her Welsh outfit today selling raffle tickets as well. So for the second time this weekend, I want to introduce Curt Witcher, who is the manager of the Special Collections and the Genealogical Centre of Allen County Public Library in Fort Worth. So thank you, Curt. I'll hand over to you and we can learn about the WorldCat and how it can help us with our research. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And it's a pleasure and an honor to be with you on day 2 of your expo. Your day is first starting, and my day is about 2/3 to 3/4 through. So it's wonderful to share this time and this space with you. And we're going to spend the entire time, the entire segment, beginning this expo day with WorldCat. And I have on the slide, Finding the World with WorldCat. And I really believe that. WorldCat.org. WorldCat.org is a free site available to anyone in the world. I would say, and I think my colleague would agree with me, that it's probably a little unlike any site that you've played around on or that you make as part of your visit frequently place on the web. But I think it has great importance for us. Before we get started, before we really get rolling along, I do want to give you one little bit of caution because we are ending our library day here on Saturday, August 8th here in the United States. In about a half an hour, you're going to hear, as you did yesterday if you were with me at this hour, a kind of obnoxious closing announcement, which kind of interrupts us. I debated whether to do this Zoom from my home office, but I don't have a T6 connection at home. And I really like a strong connection when I'm sharing great times with people on the other side of the world. So we'll have to bear with a couple of those announcements. So my apologies ahead of time for that, but we worked through those without, I think, much of a bruise yesterday. So we will do the same today. So WorldCat, what is WorldCat? It's an online bibliographic database. So it's a database of data that describes, here comes a technical term, stuff. that describes books and microfilm and archives, all kinds of research materials that we can call stuff that we need, that we want to get access to find our family stories. So it can be really powerful for our research purposes. I want to begin with why we should care. I always like that question. Why do I care? Why are you telling me this, Curt? Well, I call it a perennial significant challenge. We touched on it a couple of times yesterday if you were in my sessions. Our goal, what we strive to do, is to find all the relevant data we possibly can to construct the fullest, most robust family histories. We want to find our family stories, not some of them, not most of them, but all of them if we possibly can. So finding the data, where do I find the information? That's always in our minds. How do we do that? We know that online sites and sources continue to grow at an overwhelming rate. How do we keep track of? How do we know we're finding the latest? How do we know we've got access to the oldest? Maybe we just have the latest and we don't have some significant things that were published 100, 200, 300 years ago. This tool, this site, WorldCat, will help us do that. Among the millions upon millions of page images and billions of records, how do we find the best, the most, all the data that we need to do our family histories, to find our family stories? That's why we're here. I know some of you may say, Curt, I don't need WorldCat because we have Google. We can every word search everything on the web. I'll just Google it. Well, I would just challenge you someday when you have insomnia and can't sleep, do searches in WorldCat, do Google searches, and compare. They aren't the same. You get a good amount of data in both, but you get different kinds of data and different entities when you search WorldCat. A phrase that you see at the end of that first bullet point, controlled language searching. What does that mean? Well, Google, we just put in a term. We can even speak into our smart devices. Tell me about railroads. What's the temperature in Auckland? Then it'll come back with information for us. Why do we need controlled language? Controlled language is what catalogers use to create subject headings that describe the content in a book. It's kind of antithetical to millennials and to Gen Xers and Gen Zers to think about subject headings. They just speak into their devices, they get search results back. I still believe here, well into the 21st century, there's a place for controlled language searching when you're trying to find everything. And we'll get a flavor for that as we work through this hour. You can use bibliographic databases, which is databases of metadata describing entities, books, microfilm, journals, periodicals, archives, collections. You can use bibliographic databases, the subject headings, to draw collections together that you might otherwise have a challenge finding. So I know I'm kind of belaboring this, but I want to set it up so that you think, aha, this is something valuable. This is something worthwhile. That last bullet point, I really do believe that WorldCat isn't going to supplant Ancestry or Find My Past or My Heritage. Those are wonderful sites. They provide us with all kinds of access to data by the surname, the geographic area that we're researching. But WorldCat is sort of like the extra little helping, the dessert, if you will, to a four-course meal, the icing on the cake, if you want to call it that. It can be your research assistant, where every time you find a new surname, you find a family member 5, 10 generations ago in a different occupation, or even last generation, you can find materials that will provide you with important data and help you establish context for your families. So WorldCat, huge. It's the largest database of its kind. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. Data gathering techniques. Are we just hunters and gatherers, so we just live on the popular databases, Google, Ancestry, etc.? Or are we what I like to call crime scene investigators? Now, my wife says I should stop using this term with family history because our families aren't crime scenes. And I get that. But I like the movies that are kind of detectives, crime scene detectives, NCIS, CSI. I like those shows. I think it has some applicability to us as genealogical researchers. What do crime scene investigators do? They go to the scene of the crime and they gather everything they possibly can. They don't selectively pick, oh, I think I'm going to this piece of evidence, I think I'll do that piece of evidence. No, they gather everything and they bring it back to their shop. Our shop is our head and our computers. We bring this data back and then we look at it and we analyze it. How is this relevant to my family, to where my family worshiped, to where my family worked, to where my family lived? How can I use that to build my family story? So if we're really investigators, historical detectives, if you will, we're looking to find answers over and over and over again. And we're looking to find clues to lead us to answers. And we're looking to find more sources where we can explore for clues and answers. I hope that makes sense. So let's begin thinking about how we would approach WorldCat, large bibliographic database. I referenced this 5-point gathering strategy yesterday. It's really pedestrian, and sometimes the back to basics, easy things really work well. How am I going to approach searching WorldCat? I'm going to use those 5 things that you see on your screen. I'm going to look for the geographic location that I'm interested in. What is that geographic location? I'll frustrate you with this answer. The answer is yes. What is the geographic location? Yes, it's the location where they lived. It's the location where they embarked for Australia or New Zealand. It's the location where they landed in New Zealand or Canada or the United States. The geographic location of interest. Use that location when you're searching WorldCat. Ethnicity or ancestral origin. Use the fact that you're looking for French or Irish or English or Polish or German. Use that data when you're trying to search in WorldCat. Of course, family name. We're going to want to look for the family names that we're interested in. Religion and occupation are the other 2 that are meaningful. Are we looking for Methodist Episcopal? Are we looking for some Protestant denomination? We can use those terms when we're searching WorldCat, and we can also look for occupation. So I firmly believe that WorldCat is a great partner, and the website is simply worldcat.org. So just a real quick overview of WorldCat. It's actually been in existence for many years. It's created, maintained as a cooperative, libraries all around the world, as it says on the slide there. Over 10,000 libraries around the world contribute their cataloging records to WorldCat. Over 2 billion items are described in WorldCat. It's a not-for-profit cooperative in the middle of the United States where they have for years been gathering metadata, cataloging data, and they continuously improve their content and their context, their coverage. So worldcat.org, it is an impressive research assistant. So for the next several minutes, we're going to go through the various ways to search WorldCat with those 5 search keys that we just saw and that we talked about a little bit yesterday. And we're going to, as we go through each one of those, we're going to look at different aspects of WorldCat that we can leverage for our research purposes. And I hope that will make you more familiar with WorldCat if you haven't already used WorldCat, and entice you to use it even more. So worldcat.org, first thing most of us are going to do, even though I would tell you to look for geographic area first thing we're going to do is we're going to put in our surname. I'm moving my cursor around the input bar there. Wilkerson family, if that was a family of interest. We would put that in. Surname with the word family is the first best way to start searching. There is a little thing down here where my cursor is moving right now called advanced search. I will fail in this endeavor, but I'm on a lifelong mission to get information aggregators and database companies like WorldCat to stop using advanced search as a term, because that functionality really is one of the better ways to search. I wish they'd replace advanced search with best search. I fear that advanced search scares people away. Oh, it's advanced. Oh, it's really technical. I won't be able to use that. I'm just going to stick with the plain, ordinary, simple search. No, advanced search really means best search. And we'll take a look at an advanced search screen in just a moment. But Wilkerson family, if that's the family we're interested in, and we click on search everything, or we can limit it by media. If we just want books or articles or DVDs, etc., we can limit it. I usually like to cast the net wide and then bring in and narrow after I see what I've actually caught, if you will, to use that fishing analogy. So Wilkerson family, and we see that we've brought back 3,420 results. What do you do with 3,420 results? I asked this question a couple of times yesterday. Absolutely nothing. You tried to narrow those results. You're not going to sit and look through 342 screens, 10 records at a time of the Wilkerson family. How do we begin to narrow these results? Well, you see this orange dotted line along the near left-hand side. We can, one of the ways, and there are several ways that we'll explore in WorldCat today. One of the ways is by format. Do I just want to look at articles? Or do I want to look at books? Or do I want to look at archival material? I tend to go for the unusual first because I know I can always come back and look for books. Books is books is books. I'm not berating them, I'm not underplaying them, but I usually like to see how many archival items there are in my results set. And here I'm excited. Why is Curt excited? Because underneath archival items, there's our archival materials, downloadable. Oh my goodness, that means I can, wherever I'm at in the world, I can download these archival items right to my desktop. I get excited about that. So when I click on manuscripts, I get down to about 13 of those. And so I'm going to choose the second one here, Adams of Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Tennessee. And I note toward the end of the title, there's where the Wilkerson came in, Wilkerson family. And if I take a closer look at that, I see that that particular title, if I scroll down, that's what I did, even though I flipped screens with what we're looking at, I scroll down on the computer and I see, oh my goodness, it is held by the Family History Library, the largest genealogical library in the Milky Way galaxy. And under the type of material, notice it's listed twice. Don't know why. Sometimes OCLC needs to clean up their database a little bit, and there may be another reason for it as well. But notice under manuscript, there is a line. It looks like a link. You know why it looks like a link? Because it is a link. So we can say, oh, Family History Library owns this Wilkerson family book. I can click on manuscript, and I come up right into the Family Search catalog. So from WorldCat, without going to familysearch.org, without clicking on search, without clicking on catalog, without rekeying my terms, boom, from WorldCat, I click on the manuscript link, I come into the Family History Library catalog, the Family Search catalog. And then I'm further excited. I know you are too. If this were your family, you certainly would be excited. Notice after they describe the book, and here's the title again, and description, manuscript, 4 leaves. Leaves just means unnumbered pages. So if they were numbered, it would say 4 pages, unnumbered, 4 leaves. And in red here, if you would like to see this item, click here. So we're going to figuratively click there, and there's the item. Again, it describes the item over here. You can barely see this because they used light blue on white background. But if we clicked here, all 4 images would come up. We could read it online, we could copy it, download it, however we wanted to incorporate it into our own research library, if you will. To me, that's amazing. And we'll see other things that are amazing. So I'm going to back up a half a step. So we did Wilkerson family, and we saw that there were 3,400 items. We could have continued just clicking on different formats on the right-hand side of that screen. Say, okay, I'm going to look at books now. I'm going to look at articles now. And it gives you smaller subsets of Wilkerson. There's all kinds of ways to play with your search results. One way to play with them is to go to advanced search and search it again. And we'll see a screen in just a moment. And put in the publication year range. Again, because I'm very blessed to work with colleagues in a very large family history, family center here in the United States, I have access to a lot of new material in the last 20 to 50 to 75 years. Don't have as much access to manuscript material or older material. So I go after manuscript first and then older material second. In the advanced search, what I like to call the best search, we can put what kind of publication range. I want things just were published in the 19th century, and it will narrow your search results that way. So with this Wilkerson book, we found it, we clicked on a link, we came into Family Search Catalog and saw that the actual item was there. We're going to move from surnames because we're all going to do surnames. We're going to start searching for geographic locations. And in this instance, I clicked on that advanced search that was under the search bar that we saw when we put in our surname. And this is the screen that pops up. Look at all the options I have. Keyword, title, author. Every time you see a caret or a downward arrow, you can click on that and it opens up a number of search options for you. So we could turn all these into keyword and just search for various different keywords. So I'm interested in Fairfax, Virginia. There's a Fairfax City and a Fairfax County. I'm going to let OCLC's WorldCat bring back some search results. There's my little crusade for best search. It's not advanced search, it's best search. Notice there are a number of qualifiers here. I do want nonfiction. I chose the book format. I don't want it to tell me it's for kids or young adults or adults. I want all of it that's not fiction, that's in book form. I'm not going to narrow the language. And as I mentioned a couple of seconds ago, I'm going to make it for the 19th century. So I want the publication year 1800 to 1899. So what do I get for Fairfax, Virginia, published in the 19th century? All kinds of things, thousands of things. I selected a particular directory. Look at this Victorian era title. You can always tell a Victorian era title in English-speaking countries because it's like 2 or 3 city blocks long, it seems like. But it's quite an interesting directory covering all these various cities in Virginia, but I only want Fairfax. But because of the way the publication was put together, I have more than just Fairfax, but I do have Fairfax. If I scroll down the screen again, I see that this library owns it, but there's no link here, which means I can't click here to get into that library's catalog. This library I can, and George Washington University I can. I'm going to click on the George Washington University link for Fairfax, Virginia. And what do I get? I get right into their catalog. I see the title again. I see it differently because I'm in the university's catalog now instead of WorldCat. And I see that it's in their special collections. And there's the call number. And if I click on the call number, it will give me more details about the book itself. A lot of redundancy in the title, in the publisher, but here are the subject headings that they have assigned to the book. I can use those subject headings to search George Washington University's catalog, or I can copy and paste them into WorldCat when I go back to that particular database. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to pause. We have to be careful when we're searching WorldCat because we can quickly link out of WorldCat to another library's database. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. It's an easy thing to click from WorldCat to another library's catalog. Just remember that's what you did, so you can turn around and go back if you want to see your other search results for Fairfax, Virginia, or whatever place you were searching. I like the idea that many places give you a PURL, a permanent URL that you can copy into your notes, where you can click on that and get right back to this page again. The third way we can search any online database, but especially and particularly WorldCat, because that's what we're talking about, is by ethnicity. So I put in these terms: history, Finns, Ohio. I may have mentioned this yesterday. If I didn't, I'm going to mention it now. When you're searching many databases, there's an old saying that I've grown very fond to, and that is less is more. So Ancestry gives you this whole big screen of all these different fields that you can fill out. Don't. Put in key pieces of information. If you don't get the right search results, you can put in a few more key pieces of information. But if you put in all the fields, you're basically asking the search engine to match on everything. And if there's one or two pieces of data out of place, you won't find what you really should find. So less is more. So you'll find in a lot of my searches, I don't put history of Finns in Ohio or all of Ohio. History Finns, Ohio. And I come up with 84 search results, 64, excuse me. And let's say I'm interested in this second book here. Looks interesting. And so if I click on that link, I get the bibliographic database, the author. Notice the author is a link. Ohio Finnish American Historical Society is a link. All these subject headings are a link. That's what I like about bibliographic databases. Quickly, when you reach a book that looks interesting, we don't know what this book is really about. We know that it was copyrighted in 1977. We know it was published in Painesville, Ohio. We believe that's why it's in brackets. We know it was published by the Ohio Finnish American Historical Society. Who better than the Finnish Historical Society to tell us about Finns? I like that. But everything that's a link will take this 2 billion item database and search it instantly for that author, for that society, or for those subject headings. Again, an easy way to get the right subject heading and the right search phrase when you're trying to search a large bibliographic database. I hope that makes sense. And I know I sound a little librarian geeky here, but at first blush, bibliographic databases are boring, boring, boring. And to their detriment, most of them won't give us ancestors directly, won't give us family stories directly. So there's a great temptation to say, I don't have time for this, take it away. But it's the ability to gather a lot of data together and to be able to use these links to make sure we're finding everything. So Finns in Ohio, if I scroll down for this topic, I'm excited as a geeky librarian because I see a link to Google and I see a link to the Hathi Trust. 9.5 times out of 10, that tells me partial or the complete entity that I'd like to look at is online. If I can have a choice, and I do here between Google and Hathi Trust, typically Google's better. Not always, but typically Google's better. In this case, I clicked on Hathi Trust just to show you what that looks like. Sometimes it can be a confusing screen, but you see the links where you can get at the item, search within this item. So they have OCR the text, you can search within the item. Here's the full bibliographic record, and Hathi Trust has declared that this is protected by copyright. So I backed out and I clicked on the Google link, and then I got a better idea and a better sampling, if you will, of what's in the book. A couple of other things, German immigration, Michigan. What did I get? All kinds of things, 1,500 items. And so how do I begin to narrow that down? I can do it by these items on the side, format, publication year, author, etc. We call them facets, the facets on the side. Or I can scroll down and pick a title that looks interesting and click on it and see what comes up. Here I scroll down my facets again, and I came to, as I already tipped my hand earlier, I came to downloadable archival material. Yay, Kurt's excited. I can get from my office here at the library or my home office, I can get some actual archival material. And here's a record book that was kept by someone who was in the Prussian army during this time period, migrated to the United States, to Michigan, and actually served in the Civil War. So career veteran on both sides of the Great Pond, as we call it. And I get the possibility, downloadable archival materials, where I'll be able to actually look at this. So when I click on that downloadable, it takes me to a university library, the Bentley Historical Library at the University of Michigan. And you can see way down here at the bottom, it begins to tell me these are the links to the pages that you can click on, and up pops the book in easy to read German handwriting, right? Well, it's handwriting anyway. That's one of the challenges for us as genealogists, as family historians, is getting our arms around paleography and reading these old documents. But what a blessing, what a treat to have these on our desktop. So we can sit in our study late at night, early in the morning, mid-afternoon, whenever you feel like it, and really concentrate on transcribing these accurately. I get so excited when I can get my eyeballs on actual documents. Just some more of my search results from German families in Michigan. So you can see this title here. Notice when you're on a search screen with WorldCat, I hope you all play with it. You scroll down the screen. There'll always be a section, find this book in a library. And I put a big orange dot over here, orange star. No matter what library you're interested in, come over here and see if they have a link to Ask a Librarian. Genealogists oftentimes don't take full advantage of being able to click on a link and ask that library, whichever library's link you click on. They're not going to send you the whole book if it's copyrighted. Even if it's not copyrighted, if it hasn't been scanned or digitized, they won't send it to you. But ask them, if you can't tell from the bibliographic record, does it have an index? Do you have a copy service? Will you look in the index for a surname? Will you copy 10 pages for several bucks? How can you help me get access to the book is the question we want to ask librarians. And I hope it doesn't sound immodest, but most times librarians really want to get information into the hands of users. And if we can find a blessing in this horrible pandemic that we're living through, and here comes one of those obnoxious announcements I told you about. We're going to pause.
May I please have your attention? The library will close in 30 minutes.
Well, they may be closing in 30 minutes, but I'm going strong and we're going to go strong. So one of the advantages, if we can call it that, in this horrible pandemic is the fact that a lot of libraries don't have the in-person customers that they used to have. So librarians are kind of hungry, if you will, for customers. So it's a great time to tap them via email or some other electronic communication and say, hey, I'm really interested in this source. Is there a guide to a manuscript collection that isn't in WorldCat? Is there something else that will help me access that? You might be surprised about what you will get. So religion is another search key that we can use in finding information. You can search under the name of the church if you want, if you know it. Sometimes we don't know the name of the church. You can search under the denomination. You can search under the name of the diocese. So be creative in your searching. You can search all those kinds of ways. So I happen to know this church in Kentucky, tied into my wife's family. So I search for it and I see there is a book, History of that Church. And again, I'm kind of excited because it says right here, ebook, which means either it's a contemporary ebook that I'm not going to get my hands on, or more likely, it's been digitized. And notice we scroll down here to find a copy online. There's my orange star again. And we have OCLC has a PURL, a permanent URL. And there's another site that has a permanent URL. So I can choose either one of those, whichever one has the best presentation. I see when I get to the Kentuckiana Digital Library, I can actually search inside this text. So I've left WorldCat, I've gone to the Kentuckiana Digital Library, more search options. Here's the permanent URL I can put in my notes to always get back to this page. And then I can start looking through the book itself, History of Great Crossings Church, almost a century's worth of history. And the full text can be searched from that original screen. So again, I'm excited when I can at 2 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon with a great internet connection, I can have this material delivered right to me. Again, under Baptist church records or just general church records for a geographic area, in the best search, you can marry those two terms together. I find another item of interest, a record book that covers a fairly substantial time period. I can see Franklin College has that book, that resource. It's actually an archival material, not a book. And notice that archival material is a link. So I can click on that link at the very, very bottom, probably off your screen where you're at. You can click on archival material and it takes you into Franklin College, See up here in the top left, and there's the book, the archival material, I should say, in their catalog. And you can query their staff. You can see what else you can click on, explore all editions and formats, see how you can best get access to this information. It's a great way. Other ways to search WorldCat, if you're looking for oral histories, that's a relatively recent type of material. You're not going to find 18th and 19th century oral histories, oral or video oral histories. You'll find written letters, diaries, etc., but an oral history, not so much. But if you're interested in the 20th century, interested in some of your nearby ancestors, oral history is kind of a neat way to search, particularly WorldCat, because you'll find some interesting things. So World War II oral histories of individuals in a particular state. I chose this record to show you how exploring even a boring looking bibliographic record can be of some assistance to us. So World War II oral histories. So we explore that title further, and we see in the volumes, which are the editions of the recordings, we actually see who's been recorded in each of those volumes. So it gives us an idea whether we want to continue to pursue this or whether we want to move on to something more specifically related to our family history. More 1,456 World War II veterans oral histories. Whoops, there. See, I can narrow by format, I can narrow by year, I can narrow by content. I can't emphasize enough how important these facets are on the left-hand side that help us take a larger data set and shrink it down to something much more manageable. And so if I click on this number 14, and I want to see all the formats, there's a VHS format and a DVD format. Unless it's been digitized, my chance of getting it delivered to me via the web or delivered to me physically is pretty slim. But go back to WorldCat, find the library that owns it, see if they have a link to their Ask a Librarian feature, and ask, has this VHS been digitized? Has this been transcribed? How can I find the data that's on that disk? How can I access that data? Again, you'd be surprised at what archivists and librarians will do for you. In this particular musing around with these Veterans Oral History Project, I actually get to a website, World War II Through the Eyes of Cape Fear. It says there is a 2D image. That's great, but I click on the library. I explore that at the library. Here's that record in the library's catalog that we got to from WorldCat, and it links me to an online exhibition. Oh my goodness. I can explore voices, art, map, daily life, click through and really enjoy a much rich experience right from my own computer. And this is just another screen inside that particular exhibit. I did a search for Jay County, Indiana visual material just as a format, just to show you that that's possible. And one of the first things that came up was La Follet family. It's like, wait a minute, I searched for Jay County visuals, but Jay County is in the complete description of this book. So we'll press on and we can read the description right here. Family settled in territorial Indiana in what is now Jay County. And I can press on further, see all the subject headings in the book. There's the family that popped up, but there's Jay County, also Indianapolis, and some other family and individual names. Can't stress enough. Facets are important in narrowing down your search results, and the subject headings, the controlled language subject headings that librarians and archivists give to describe materials, that will help us gather together like material in this huge 2 billion plus item database. So again, just playing with La Follet family, click on that, get 65 results. Moving on as time is waning from us quickly here, we can also search by occupation. I searched for Pennsylvania blacksmiths, came up with many books. I clicked on one. You see the one I clicked on your screen. Notice down here in subjects. Again, it's a great way of pulling things together. If I want all the directories for Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, that's how I should type in the search term. I'm never going to remember that. I just click on this. And notice that I put in blacksmiths, but one of the official subject headings is blacksmithing. I wouldn't have known that, and I'm a librarian. Of course, I didn't like cataloging years ago when I took it, so I'm paying the benefits or not of not paying attention in cataloging. But these subjects, so important for gathering things together. So there's all the related subject headings. And notice this feature. I drew a red line here because I wanted to tell you about this feature. When you go into WorldCat, because we don't have a lot of time, I didn't spend a lot of time at the beginning on it, but next to that original search box, there's a smaller search box to the right where for free, you can register for your own personal account. You think, big deal, why should I do that? Well, one, it's free, and secondly, you can create lists for yourself, research lists. So as you're searching around on your lunch hour or your break or you're sort of kind of babysitting the grandkids and you're doing other things, you can save things to your own list. And that's kind of neat to be able to come back to that list. And so for this particular book, they're telling me that this book is in 2 different personal lists. And I can click on those and see, hey, what else is in this person's list? And it looks like here's a book, here's an ethnic group in a part of the United States who are iron workers or blacksmiths. But when I look down the rest of the list, I find that this gentleman is gathering together materials about how to be a blacksmith. I'm not so interested in how to be a blacksmith, but I'm interested in people in my family history who were blacksmiths. So I have 2 lists, they're private, on WorldCat, one for African-American religions and one for the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad, because I'm researching those subjects. So France railroads. 15,000 items under France railroads. Again, I drew the orange line where the facets are, and I found pamphlets on railroads in France. Here's some more subject headings I might want to try. Google and HathiTrust again, so oh my goodness. Here's the first of several pamphlets in the HathiTrust. I like sometimes the film strip view, because I can see where one pamphlet in this case ends and another one begins. I can also see where there's lists of numbers or names without having to page through every single one. So I use that to my advantage. You can look for institutional organizations. So I put in Ireland orphanages, come up with 270 hits. Again, my subject headings, great subject headings to help narrow things down. Orphanages, Ireland, Dublin, history. Who talks like that? Nobody does, but that's how librarians catalog things. So if I click on that, I come up with only 10 search results, and this third one looks fascinating to me. A brief history of the female orphan house in Dublin, North Circular Road in Dublin. So I click on that, and I see all these entities hold it. HathiTrust is an online, so I'm kind of excited about that. I went there, wasn't what I wanted, didn't give me full all 9 access. So I went down to McGill University, and lo and behold, McGill University has created an ebook out of this. I click on that, and there's the entire book, Brief History of the Female Orphan House, North Circular Road, Dublin. So it's amazing what WorldCat will help you find and help you get access to. Another orphanage here in the United States, it has some downloadable images, found some orphanages in a journal article. There's just an amazing amount of material. Last thing I want to end on, Family Search has put most of their catalog into WorldCat. So if you find it frustrating to search the Family Search catalog, or if you'd like to just concentrate on WorldCat, know that Family Search, not all, but most of their catalog records are in WorldCat. And WorldCat really is a genealogist research companion. We don't normally focus an entire presentation segment on just one database, or at least I don't, but I think WorldCat is that important. So I'm finished. We're going to have another obnoxious announcement here at the Allen County Public Library. in a couple minutes, but I think we have like 5 minutes or so for questions if there are any. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Curt. I am ready to take questions. Yes. Did you get that?
I did not.
How many of the percentage of the 10,000 libraries that contribute to WorldCat are in the US, and how many in the UK and other countries?
That's a great question for which I have a lousy answer because OCLC, the company that runs it, it's really heavily slighted towards English-speaking countries. The last 10 years, they've really reached out to at least get the national bibliotheques, the national libraries. So the National Library of Spain, France, Portugal, United States is easily 50%. English speakers probably take that up a lot higher, English speaking countries. But they are actively signing up libraries literally every month to contribute their records. Just one more little quick comment. Libraries have to pay to be into WorldCat. So for some libraries, that's a barrier, unfortunately. I wish they would change that.
I can tell you that the New Zealand libraries all contribute to WorldCat, and I'm pretty sure all the Australian ones do too, and quite a lot of the UK ones as well. I wouldn't say all of them because I don't know all of them, but yeah. Another question? Rex is just taking the microphone to this
Sure.
the person asking the question.
The library will close in 15 minutes.
Thank you. Curt, you talked about film strip view just a few minutes back. Can you tell me how you might get that?
The question is about film strip views. Want to know how to get the film strip views.
Okay, great question. And I was motoring through this presentation so fast because I wanted to get through it with time for questions. Not all presentations have a film strip view. I'm going to see if I can share my screen again. I'm going to scroll down to, I'm going to try to scroll down to where we were. It depends on the how it's put together. So in the HathiTrust and in Internet Archive, two huge sites. Notice where my cursor is. Well, I'm going to maybe that's not what I wanted. Okay. Notice along the top and along the side, these are all features. You can enlarge and reduce, you can make it full screen, but here is where you can change your page view. You can have a single page view, double page view, or film strip. It all depends on the type of program that the entity that's putting up the digital asset uses. Internet Archive, HathiTrust, sometimes Google, but not always, have these nice features over here where you can enlarge and reduce, but also you can change the view of what you're looking at. And these four squares, that's the film strip view. And that's pretty universal for most document presenters, most image presenters.
Thank you, Curt. Any other questions? Last question, maybe? No? Well, thank you. Oh, yeah, hang on. The question is, can you search WorldCat for images?
Yes, yes. I would use the advanced search that I'm trying to call best search, use the best search feature, and then in the format, just choose that format.
Okay, thank you, Curt.
Thank you.
Okay, so I guess we'll sign off from this presentation now, and give you a
Okay.
chance to go and get yourself a drink or whatever you need to do. And we'll see you online shortly. So
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
And so you might want to stick around for Curt's passenger and immigration research.